Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
Hey there, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast, the number one industrial-related podcast in the universe. Thank you very much for joining. That celebrates you, the industrial professionals, the companies that get it done. You're bold, you're brave, you dare greatly, you innovate, and you're not just changing lives, you're changing the world. Thank you very much for what you do. That's why we celebrate you. That's why this platform is for you. Thank you very much. We've got a great Heroes of Manufacturing podcast coming your way. This features Freudenberg Medical. Now, it contains two gents. One, his name is Fabio Paiva. I hope I got that right. And then the other one is Seamus Mguire. And we're going to be talking about Kaizen. What do we do? I mean, here's a company that's been around forever. I think it was 170 some odd years. And they're committed each and every day to be the best they possibly can be in manufacturing. And so they're very committed to Kaizen and going through these Kaizen events. And now with COVID, of course, they're like, well, how do we get together? Because Kaizen events are really great in a group environment. They leverage Microsoft Teams, and they're able to do some very innovative, great stuff and leveraging technology so that they can continue doing what they do best, and that's manufacture. So it's another incredible story about how manufacturers are able to adapt in this very challenging environment and keep moving forward. Surviving, rebuilding, and prospering is the name of the game. And speaking of which, again, I want you to take notes. You got to say yes to this stuff. You want to retain talent? That's what we're all about here on Industrial Talk Podcast. We highlight people with strategies associated with that. You want to manage risk? Yep, got you covered. If you want to save money, make money, and be more resilient in this world, in this particular market, yep, Industrial Talk Podcast, great a community of contributors that are dedicated to your success. We are talking about collaborating more, being able to share that information, innovate more, not just from a technology point of view, but just strategies moving forward, innovative strategies to help you survive and rebuild and prosper. And then, of course, educate, all here on the Industrial Talk Podcast. You need to be very innovative. This is the time. This is the time that you just don't lollygag. You've got to be, thinking about how you can do it, how you can innovate, how you can educate, how you can collaborate, and do it with a sense of speed. And that is everything, and it's all wrapped up together in one comprehensive solution for you here on the Industrial Talk Podcast. Do not lollygag. All right, on to the interview. Freudenberg Medical is the company. Fabio and Seamus are the individuals that are going to be talking about what they do, not only the technology that they leverage to keep their Kaizen activity moving forward, but what they do and why the Microsoft team's just been spectacular. And not only that, Microsoft, their contact within Microsoft, he's been on the podcast as well, how they've been working together, and they're really, what's been fascinating is seeing how they do innovate and how they take the technology and then sort of continue to push the envelope. Hey, can we do this? What about this? How about this? What about that? And be able to achieve some level of a success, move forward. Kaizen is, you got to love these individuals that innovate, and boy, they come from manufacturing. All right, on to the interview. Thank you very much. Fabio, Seamus is on the old docket. Freudenberg Medical is the company. Enjoy the interview.
Fabio and Seamus, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. I'm telling you, thank you very much for joining, because once again, we the series and what I've gleaned from a lot of these conversations have sort of revolved around the necessity to retain talent, of course, with these manufacturers, retaining talent, managing risk, right? Building a wall around it, getting rid of it, either saving money or making money and creating a sense of resiliency. And you guys, right off the bat, as recommended by Microsoft, have a conversation a little bit about Kaizen and how you guys are leveraging Microsoft Teams. Did I summarize that up pretty good?
Yes, very good, Scott.
Oh, there you go, man. Then let's just wrap it up. Thank you for, no, just kidding. Okay, so for the listeners out there, let's do this. Let's get a little level set. Let's talk a little bit about who Fabio is, lay it out, and then we're going to go to you, Seamus, and then we're going to lay it out and say why you guys are such a great professional, and then we're going to go into what you're doing with Freudenberg, right?
Freudenberg Medical.
And how you're leveraging technology to continue that conversation and still improve business. So let's start with you, Fabio. Give us a little background, a little 411 on who you are.
Sure. Fabio, been with Freudenberg 27 years now, and I'm kind of a passionate person to solve problems. You have a problem, I'm passionate to grab that, and start working and help the organization to then move forward and get to some solutions.
Yeah, I mean, especially now when we've been hit by the two-finger death punch of the COVID, and now we're scrambling. We're scrambling to learn how to collaborate differently, virtually. That's important. We're learning how to leverage technology. We've got to apply technology. We need to educate. We need to educate a lot, and then we need to do it with a sense of speed. And that's what is so great about what you guys are doing. And Seamus, give us a little background on who you are, outside of the fact that your weekend's starting sooner than ours.
Yeah, my weekend's starting pretty much right after this podcast. Hi, folks. My name's Seamus. I've been with Freudenberg Medical since January 2014, and I've been in the medical device industry for another 10 years before that. And, I really love lean and continuous improvement, Six Sigma, all of that. And I really love improving processes, making them more effective, efficient, and that's really what makes me tick. So yeah, it was great to collaborate.
I bet you're fun in a pub and always like, hey, I bet they could pour that beer faster if they did this and move this way as opposed to that way. Let me make some recommendations. I bet you they just love that.
Yeah. It's an affliction.
But it is important to get the beer faster.
Oh, of course, yeah.
All right. So let's talk, and listeners out there, let's make sure we level set here. What makes this an interesting conversation is that, once again, pre-COVID, pre-virus, things were sort of just rocking along, and they were just going through the process. And then, of course, COVID hits, the switch happens, and now we, as businesses, as individuals, have to shift the way we think and look at the business, and how do we keep some sort of business continuity going forward, and still, from the point of Freudenberg Medical, how do we continue to improve? How do we continue to deliver the products that we need in this particular environment? And that's why this conversation is so interesting. Now, I'm going to start first off, and for the listeners, can you define what Kaizen and lean manufacturing is, so that we have that baseline, and then transition into leveraging technology and doing it that way, and virtual and all this, and you get the picture.
Yeah. So Fabio, I might take this one.
Sure. Yep.
That's okay. So I guess lean manufacturing is all about pulling the waste out of the process so that as much of the time spent in the process is adding value, getting it from raw material to finished goods, and going through that change with as little waste as possible. No transportation, get rid of motion, all the usual stuff, waiting, inventory, over-processing, overproduction, and defects. Okay, so that's lean manufacturing in a nutshell.
See, what's interesting about that is that Freudenberg has been around how long?
180 years.
190 years, and you're still looking at lean manufacturing. You would think that in that 190 years, you'd be perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's a good point, Scott, because
It's a damn good point.
And let me tell you, in the book Lean Thinking, the Bible of Lean, Freudenberg was used as the case study for the 5th Lean principle, which is seek perfection. So just had to get that in there. So
it just blows me away. It really does. And I got to imagine. So you're going through the process. You're looking at this lean manufacturing. You're applying. And we're going to talk about Kaizen because we need a level set on that. So you apply some Kaizen principles. And do you guys get excited when you're saying, we've been around for 190 years and look at that, we found another inefficient right there. Let's drive that thing out.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Good feeling.
Once again, going to a pub would be different with you, Seamus.
Yeah. Hopefully someday.
It's like, you've been around for 300 years. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
All right. So now we've got lean manufacturing. We understand that drive for perfection. And that's really pretty cool. And that keeps you going each and every day. Now, tell me a little bit about how you apply Kaizen to that particular principle.
Sure. So Kaizen, as a lot of your listeners will know, it's a Japanese word. It's actually 2 Japanese words, Kai and Zen. So there's a couple of different translations, and the 2 that we use in Freudenberg Medical. The first one is small steps for the better. Okay, that's one kind of interpretation,
Yep.
And the other interpretation is Kai, to break apart, and Zen, put back together with harmony. Okay, so it's basically breaking apart a process and putting it back together with harmony, with as much waste taken out. Okay, so that's Kaizen. And then a Kaizen event is like a 2, 3, 4 day event where we map the current state. Everybody gets to understand what the current state is. Then we do timings, all that stuff, break it down and reassemble the process in the most efficient way we can as a team. So it's cross-functional team, it's collaborative, there's a lot of creativity. So does that answer your question?
It answers mine, and I'm sure the listeners sort of soaked it up like a sponge. Absolutely. Now let's transition. When we start talking about a Kaizen event, that's really, in the face of everybody around the table on a whiteboard. People are walking up, I would imagine, and sticking sticky notes and doing things, and it's very interactive, very collegial, whatever it might be. All right, COVID, 2-finger death punch hits us across the head. Now you have to figure out how to do that going forward. But you have to do it because you've been in business for 190 years. You're striving for perfection. So what did Freudenberg do and say, we got to keep on going? That's to you, Fabio.
Yeah, that's when I came in. We used to say, Scott, that necessity is the mother of invention, right? Yeah. So as soon as then we got hit by COVID, one of the first things that I did, I looked inside my organization. I said, man, we're going to have a lot of people work remote. Let's work on our infrastructure. So that was the first thing that I did, is kind of how can I prepare my infrastructure, my organization, to allow us, not just to allow technically, but another piece that you touched before, you said is collaboration, innovation, but the education. And how can I do that fast? So that's when I came and I said, you know what? I have attended several Kaizens. Seamus, I have an idea. Why don't we use a Microsoft Teams and whiteboard? And then we can transform the way we used to do things and say, this is our new reality. A lot of people will need to be educated how they're going to do this working from home. And that's when the idea came to use a Microsoft Teams, whiteboard, stream, all the technology that's available to our organization, and said, I have an idea. And Seamus, if you are with me on this, we can do an e-Kaizen. And that's how everything started, Scott.
It's interesting. You came through. The reason you're on the Industrial Talk podcast is because you were recommended by a gentleman by the name of Greg Vigil, and he is with Microsoft. And we were talking specifically about how Microsoft has helped facilitate technology through this challenging time. And you guys are leveraging the tools that are available.
Absolutely.
It's sort of funny when you get right down to it. Pre-virus, we would never have done this, right? It would just we got Teams. Look at me, I'm messaging somebody on Teams.
Yeah.
Look, I'm Mr. Communicator right here. And then all of a sudden, and we can say there's, of course, we can always pinpoint the challenges that have happened with COVID, without a doubt. It is. But then there's some positive stuff. And then all of a sudden, you guys are leveraging technology the way it's supposed to be leveraged, the way it's supposed to be used, and it's taken the COVID to be able to say, we got to do this. So you're doing it. You're saying,
yep.
Seamus, we got to do this. We got to be able to pull people in. We can't stop pursuing perfection, and we're going to have to leverage technology to be able to do so. And I recommend, Microsoft Teams. Where did it go from there? It's like, all right, guys, you get on here and do this. And it's a plan.
Yeah,
because you guys are 190 years old, you have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 171 years old, Freudenberg, 171. But
sorry about that. I was thinking it was about 350 years old. I'm going to keep on elevating the years.
But it's like it's the concept of operational excellence. The mindset that I share with Seamus. I said, Seamus, it's a 3-ring process, right? You have the people, you have the process, the Kaizen, and now we have the technology. Let's put those 3 together. The funny thing was that when we approached this idea was, is this going to work? Why? Because now, you do a Kaizen as a face-to-face, like you were saying. You go to your back of your board, you put a Post-it. How do we engage people? And Seamus will talk a little bit about the ideas, icebreakers. We have a lot of new ideas to do icebreak remotely with people that in the past we never thought about. How do we bring people remotely together?
You can't sit in a room and say, hey, Scott, wake up. You're engaged here. You don't have that real-time finger-pointing shaming thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more virtual.
Exactly. Like, how do you poke people virtually, right? So you can't. So the whole idea is start using Teams. The other component of that, it's you do a lot of research at current process or current state. When you do a Kaizen, everybody gets off the room and let's walk into the shop floor and let's watch the process. Now we are faced and say, guys, how do we check the process now? That's when we said, you know what? We will record the process. And then we put everybody on Teams to watch the video. And then we do time check by watching a video that someone recorded from the process. That's how we overcome the distance. But one of the other benefits we also got from this, it's the whole travel. We do a Kaizen like a specialist like Seamus in Ireland, and we do a Kaizen in the United States. We have to bring him over. So there is some downside of using the e-Kaizen virtually, but there are some positives because now we close the boundaries by having people virtually with different time zones, which we had to learn as well. But now if I have a problem, it's very quick for me just to click on Teams and bring an expert to join the e-Kaizen and give their input. If that will be in person, it will cost much more money and the availability will not be there. So that's when the user of camera, Teams, in this case the stream, and also use the whiteboard for the people to collaborate, add a lot of value and make that possible.
So for simplicity, because I am sort of the butter knife in this drawer, the first thing that you said, okay, we've got this manufacturing process right here, whatever that line is. Let's just, for my understanding, got this line, and we're gonna evaluate the process on this line. So I need to get a person out there with the camera to go through that and physically physically record it right there. And then you can then post it and say, this is what's happening. And in your e-Kaizen event, so this is where it's at. And so everybody is looking at the same information and then begin the process of saying, hey, that might be this, that, and from that, that's the beginning point. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And I would imagine the conversation internal was, okay, we got to do this. We got to figure this out. What do we do first? Hey, let's get a camera out there and let's do one at a time. And you just started with one. And you're saying, we're going to do this e-Kaizen event, and we're going to start with this line. And then we're going to film it. And then we're going to get people on. And then you're going to, then after the fact, I would imagine you said, hey, how did that go? Did everybody get Is that good? Could we improve? How do we improve?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's primarily applying Kaizen to your
Kaizen.
Oh,
You got it.
oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
My head is about to bleed.
Yep. Yeah.
But
we
anyway,
had to perfect
I would
it.
imagine that's the way to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We
And it's still
Kaizen
happening.
our Kaizen, right? We Kaizen our Kaizen. That's what we've been doing.
So, and then you guys go to a bar, and then you Kaizen the hell out of that.
Why not?
So, what benefits have you seen outside of the cost and the reality? You don't have to bring Seamus across the pond and then all that good stuff.
Yeah, I can add some benefits from the technology side, and I will let Seamus to speak also on the manufacturing side. Yeah, you point out, cost of travel. It's something that it's known, but one of the benefits is also to educate our organization new technology. Although you may imagine that people knows how to use Zoom or Skype or Teams and all those web, you don't. And one thing,
let me just sort of tell you, and this is just a deviation from our conversation. Pre-virus, every time I'd have an interview, there was always about 15 minutes of Zoom conversation of trying to get them on. No, do this.
Yep.
Go down to the left side. Make this. And it was just. But now, you don't know Zoom. Where the hell have you been?
Exactly. So
it's been easy for me.
One of the benefits that we took from this as well is to use the opportunity, Scott, to educate our organization technology. When you talk about Kaizen, it's people from all levels in the organization. So you have a shop floor people that will be attending that has never been in front of the camera that we set up on a conference room. So that education of technology also helps to improve those individuals to be more efficient in what they do and how to use the technology that we have. So I think that's by there, it's a good benefit, and it's a good example how Freudenberg, it's using the digitalization as a platform for us with Microsoft Teams to make this possible for us to use that type of technology.
What's interesting, kudos to Microsoft coming out with the product called Teams, no doubt about it.
Yep.
And it came out pre-virus. So that thinking, that insight, that wisdom happened pre-virus, which is very damn cool. And they had a vision of being able to leverage that platform exactly like what you guys are doing. But if it wasn't for the virus,
yep,
it still would have been sort of like this cool little instant messaging deal. And I can just get, hey, I'm going out to the water cooler. You want to join? That type of thing. Now it's relevant, it's meaningful, it's innovative, and it is transforming business the way they communicate. Go ahead, Seamus, you got something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some of the benefits that I saw as we did the e-Kaizens. One of them, I think Fabio mentioned, I didn't have to fly across, or people don't have to fly to different, travel to the different facilities. But, it also allows for a lot better work-life balance. When there's these Kaizen events, you're not, even if it's in the same area and you don't have to leave your family for a few days to do a Kaizen event. So not just the cost, but it's the personal cost for people,
true.
Which I think is just like remote working. There's huge benefits there, From a more tactical benefit, with the e-Kaizen framework that we have, we can record a lot of the conversations that happen,
That's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
Even we had 9 hours of Gemba footage from the shop floor, and we did the timings with stopwatches in Teams, observing the work happening, and we were able to record ourselves doing those timings. So if we ever wanted to look back and challenge ourselves, did we do those timings correctly because we've rebalanced the line and the work content, we can go back and say, check it and go, yeah, the timings are correct, So
I like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, we're discovering new benefits all the time.
See, that is absolutely relevant. That is, you've got a chronology, a recorded chronology that you can leverage in the future to even improve what you're doing.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but
So,
it makes sense.
yeah, so something we did in the last Kaizen, we recorded ourselves doing the timings, and then we were able to use that to teach other people how to do timings, because we have a very specific methodology. So we were able to also take from the Kaizen and use it as training material. So I mean, that even that in itself is a huge benefit. So it was
I would imagine, and I don't know. Are you guys envisioning the material that you are creating as a result of your commitment to doing the events as training for other people who come on board?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
You didn't think about that. It's because I thought about it. And,
Yeah,
and I get
thanks
it.
for that, Scott.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome very much. I'm in the Kaizen mode of constantly helping out.
And another point, Scott, even when COVID-19 has, when we've got over that hurdle, and we will be doing real life Kaizens in the facilities in person, but we're still going to use the platform to document and record what's happening, because it's such a good way of storing the Kaizen process, So
see, that is spectacular. I love that. I really do. And that's truly leveraging an innovative way of leveraging technology that truly can transform your business going forward for the better. I don't see any real negative results from that outside of the fact that I'm not going to a special restaurant because I'm traveling or something. Running through an airport. Now, going forward, to wrap it up, going forward, where do you see your company? We're going to get on the other side. Business has transformed in a way to sort of deal with the COVID and maybe something going forward, business continuity, blah, blah, blah. How do you see your organization going forward as a result of leveraging, Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, one of the things that we're also looking into right now, it's wearable camera. So we have wearable solutions now that we are testing, Scott, and that allows us then to headset, with a camera to be connected directly with Microsoft Teams. So we're extending this to do some pilots on HSE. You have experts that need to go to sites and do sometimes machine inspection, machine audits. So that expert is in Germany or in another country. So now what we're doing, we're having our employees, or at least in the test mode right now, to wear that camera, go on the shop floor, connect to Teams, and say, I'm going to do an inspection of this machine. And the person thousands of miles away is watching that, zoom on this, take a picture. We have a link in here. Let's go to our checklist and use that technology to also do inspection remotely, to do HSE projects, and then leverage that camera as well to then record our current process and add that automatically integrated into Teams real time. At the same time, you have 7 other people, different place, attending the same Kaizen event or even watching the same audit together. So we are taking that experience to the next level.
Wow. I'd love to fast forward to see how you benefit from that innovative thinking to your business and applying it. I mean, that's what's interesting, and this is we're going to wrap it up. But what's interesting is the level of innovation that's taking place. It's sort of just it's like, okay, we're going to do this, but it's on a 2 to 5 year timeline type of budget thing. But then in the world of COVID, all of a sudden people are saying, I got to get going. I got to make this happen. I got to do something. And I'm just excited personally to see where this takes not just companies, but individuals going forward and how it'll just transform business. I just, kudos to you guys. That's cool stuff.
Sorry, go ahead, Fabio.
I just want to go back. One of the things you mentioned before, Scott, that I think is very important for a process like this. You mentioned the word speed at the beginning.
Speed.
It has to be something simple. We don't want to be perfect. But when Seamus and I, we started the idea, it took us 20 days from the idea to the first Kaizen concept. We said, it doesn't need to be perfect. Guys, this is our new normal. We got to try something. It's try and error. And that's the benefit in one of the things that Freudenberg is very keen. It helps us as an employee is to take risk. Say, guys, we have an idea. We have an opportunity. Let's try. Seamus and I said, I'm in, good. We scheduled weekly meetings, and in a matter of 3 weeks, we had the first Kaizen running on Teams with whiteboard, and we're still learning from that. So I think it's very critical. The speed, you have an idea, but get something done.
But the key there is that you're saying speed. That's true. You took action. You were not afraid of making mistakes, because if you're moving forward, you're gonna possibly stub your toe, but you just sort of shake off and then continue to move forward. As long as you're moving forward, that's when real dramatic change takes place. I'm telling you, that's just a beautiful doggone story, man. I like it. Yep. Like it a lot, man.
Like my dad.
Hey, on another note, how does your teams, do they like it?
I might jump in there and just say a few things, Fabio, because I don't want your listeners thinking, hey, they're doing meetings over Zoom. Well done. It's we had to really transfer that intangible interpersonal communication that you'd have in a meeting room into the digital platform. And like you said it, you can't say, hey, wake up, Jimmy. You don't have the visual cues that somebody's going to interrupt you. So we had some golden rules. Cameras are on 100% of the time. Expect to be interrupted. Don't get offended. And we had lots of cool icebreakers to get to know them, because by the end of a Kaizen, you've kind of banged heads, and then you get to that high performing stage. And you should feel at the end of a Kaizen that you can go out for a beer with the team and have good fun. So we had a lot of fun on the Kaizen as well, and we all got to know each other. So I just want to make it clear that for a successfully Kaizen, you have to have that interpersonal communication,
Yeah, you do, and I understand it. And are you getting fairly decent acceptance from your team?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got.
Did you have to deal with the fact that somebody walked behind the camera one time and it was a kid?
That was probably my children. Yeah. They're not there.
Yeah, I'm looking around. I'm looking for the dogs. Any last part? What's that there, Seamus?
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Yeah.
Any last parting suggestions? I love the way, and I think the encouragement on my side is like, don't be afraid of Teams. Don't be afraid of Microsoft Teams. Figure it out. Don't get frustrated. Just do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. All right, listeners. That's Seamus Mguire and Fabio. How do you say your last name, Fabio?
Paiva.
Yep. Two absolutely innovative studs right there, using Microsoft Teams, doing Kaizen events. Spectacular, motivating. Don't be afraid, listeners. Get on that. At least look at Microsoft Teams. Hey, you guys available out there on LinkedIn?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Listeners, it's going to be out there on industrialtalk.com. I'm going to have all the links, everything that you can possibly imagine to get a hold of these two gents. And thank you, Fabio. Thank you, Seamus, for joining the Industrial Talk podcast. You guys were wonderful.
Thanks for having us.
All right, listeners, you know the rule. Do not go away, because we're going to wrap it up on the other side. So stay tuned to the Industrial Talk podcast. Thank you.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Again, thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk Podcast. This is a Heroes of Manufacturing episode, celebrating those wonderful people at Freudenberg Medical, the team there, Fabio, Seamus. Incredible conversation. Thank you to your innovation and the inspiration behind helping everybody else continue to move this ball forward in this very challenging time. Thank you to you both. Okay. All the contact information will be out on industrialtalk.com. We've got the Industrial Academy so that you can learn from the best. We've got the Insider, all of the information that you need that's taking place within the industry. It's out there. You'll go out to industrialtalk.com, find the Insider, and find the news that are, that's being written by leaders who are truly trying to get to the end of this particular, not to the end, making you prosper. That's what it's all about. And, we're here to help. You want to be on this podcast? You've got a story to tell? I know you got a story to tell. Let's get you on the podcast, create a series, whatever it is. That's why we're here. We want to celebrate you. Thank you again for being bold. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for daring greatly. And most importantly, thank you for changing the world and lives. We appreciate you. We've got another incredible interview right around the corner, so stay tuned and thank you.